What is going on, YouTubeverse? John Stanek from Johnny Radio here on location with a very special guest to talk about a very special record, Radiohead's OK Computer, with my buddy here, Dan Dixon from the band Please Please. Just an incredible artist in his own right. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here. Sorry.
Yeah, thank you, man. Thanks for having me here in the studio, man, at Record Studios, where all the magic happens. Man, let's get into this, man, because I know that this record has shaped you in many ways as an artist. And how did you first come to it yourself?
Well, let me see. I was into those guys pretty early on. I mean, I got into them when the Bends came out for sure. Mm-hmm. I was way into I'd seen them on the Bends tour.
Right.
And then I knew they were making this new record, and nobody seemed too excited about it, honestly. At the time, it was a weird... Everybody talks about this record now, but at the time, nobody really cared that it was coming out.
Right.
And I knew a guy, because I was an insider. I happened to know a dude that worked at a record label who got me an advance cassette tape.
Yeah, that's awesome.
No shit of this record. And so I got a cassette of it about 2 months before it came out.
Oh, wow.
And I distinctly remember going home and putting it on and having kind of low expectations because Pablo Honey is not great to me and the Bends was so good.
Yeah.
I thought there's no way they're going to do this again. They're going to make some, I don't know. There's somebody at their label's going to pressure them to make another, pop record or whatever. And clearly I was wrong. I put it on and just immediately, and it was probably about 1 o'clock in the morning. Mm-hmm. I remember hitting the bong and putting the cassette in and not taking it out until I listened to it at least 3 or 4 times in a row from front to back. I mean, it was a mind-boggling experience. And there was nobody telling me that this was good yet because no one cared. Right. No one was talking about Radiohead. Mm-hmm. Nobody cared about Radiohead. It was the Bends was cool, but it sold half of what the Pablo Honey had sold.
Right.
And even the Bends show wasn't sold out at Masquerade.
Yeah.
And then I saw them on this tour a few months later. This would have been around summer of '97. Mm-hmm. And
man,
they had come through, and again the record wasn't hot yet, and the show was about half full. Mm-hmm. I got my tickets for free because I worked at the record store, and they were just giving them away. Dudes at the label were trying to get people to go to the show. And I was like, cool. Yeah. So I went, and they were just
mind-blowing.
Yeah, they were incredible. It was just a ridiculously... I mean, I'm standing, this close to the stage. It was just... I'm in the front, right in front of Johnny Greenwood's right here, and Tom's right there, and it was so good. And again, they played Creep, and a bunch of the people in the room cleared out. Right. I'm not even kidding you. It was like, wow, so weird. And all I could think was like, wow, this record's clearly going to be overlooked and misunderstood. Right. And my recollection was at the end of the year, all the best of lists came out.
Exactly.
And everybody just, put them in their top 5 album. Everybody. Everybody. Back when people read Rolling Stone and Spin and whatever. And then they won a Grammy first of January, whenever the Grammys happened, early '98.
Exactly.
And this record sold 1 million copies or more, whatever, and became
a phenomenon, man. And I mean, I'm ashamed to say that I was one of those people that basically didn't get around to this or the Bends, actually. Like, I was one of those that only knew Creep until, 98 when they started winning all the awards. And I'm like, I got to check out these 2 albums. And I did right about the same time. And I remember getting into the Bends. I found it a lot more accessible, I guess, on first listen.
Totally. Very accessible record.
This, on first listen, didn't hit me. I was kind of like, what is this? And then not until the last song, The Tourist, did it kind of make sense to me and something hit me like, this is really something special, especially because I feel like that song kind of sums up thematically what this album is about. Just the chorus saying, hey man, slow down, idiot, slow down, is perfect. And I think they were really ahead of their time, not just what they did musically, but obviously with what they were warning about with computers and technology where we are now.
Interesting that I thought about this today because I knew we were going to have
this
conversation.
Way, cheers.
Oh, cheers.
This is Argentinian Malbec here. So just had to throw that out there.
My personal fave. Easy to drink.
Yes.
Not too boring.
Indeed.
So I remember because we talked about this. We did a couple of shows. I did a couple of shows with this Radiohead band. Mm-hmm. Just right around the time that Kid A came out, and we did a lot of stuff on this record. Yeah. And that's when I really dug into the lyrics, and I've been listening to this record, and I knew a lot about it. I knew this record inside out, so I thought.
Right.
But the mumble mouthing on the record, it's the kind of thing where you start filling in gaps.
Yeah.
And the stuff you don't understand.
Right.
And in your mind, because I listened to it so much, and probably because I smoked so much pot, I wrote my own versions of the songs to some degree.
Right.
And then I had to sing them, and I was like, oh, wait a minute.
Yeah.
This is what he's actually saying. And when I started reading the lyrics, I realized how fantastic they are.
Oh, yeah.
The lyrics on this record are absolutely phenomenal. Yeah. And probably, so it's 20 years now, I guess, a little over 20 years.
Exactly.
This came out in 97.
97, yeah.
So it's amazing how, like, 1984 style telling it is, especially stuff like Let Down, which really speaks to the idea of the distance, people just sort of being more and more distant from each other and like not being able to connect and all this stuff, which, I mean, at least that's what it feels like. I don't pretend to tell Tom York what he's singing about, but it seems pretty clear like that's what that, there's a lot of stuff about that kind of thing with technology sort of pushing people apart.
Right.
And weirdly enough, it has completely come to pass.
Sure.
Because in 1997, I didn't even have a cellular phone.
Right. Yeah.
I don't think I had a cell phone yet. I was still.
Yeah, I was one of the last people to get a cell phone.
Yeah, I'm the last person to do everything with that stuff. So yeah, I was still using an answering machine and a home phone. So which was awesome because then people I didn't want to talk to.
Right.
I could just say I wasn't home.
Yeah. Right.
So I desperately miss those days. I thought that was a really cool thing actually in retrospect. So now. We live in this world where we're all connected by technology, and but people are further, whatever, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, we're more connected with technology, but somehow more and more isolated, which is exactly what he was talking about on this record.
Subterranean homesick alien.
Exactly.
Nails it.
Yeah.
Nails it.
Totally. And they get
pretty good.
The sounds that they have on this album, you as a producer could, I'm sure, go on and on about that, but I mean, just the guitar tones that they had that sounds like it's literally from outer space. It's like incredible, man.
Well, and you got to think, and like we were talking about this too, is that, this is pre Pro Tools world.
Right.
When they're still cutting on, as far as I know. I mean, again, it may have been real early computer stuff going on, but I don't think so. I mean, I think it was more.
Yeah.
I read an interview with them where they were talking about how on Planet Telex on the Bends was the first time they used a sampler. And the drums on that song are cut up. They're loops.
Right.
And if you listen to it, it's pretty obvious because he literally plays the same fill every 2 bars.
Yeah,
and they speed up and slow down. Even weirder, they're not in time. Like the chorus is slower than the verses. And it slows down exact same every time.
Right.
And when I read that, I was like, oh, this totally makes sense. Yeah, so it's like early, they're not early, but they're using sampling technology with making drum loops and stuff.
Exactly, yeah.
But it's still tape. Like definitely the Bends is all 2-inch tape era. So they're doing some kind of looping with a sampler and then printing it out, whatever.
Yeah.
So they're probably still dealing with that same level, and production wise, this is a step above just about everything. I would put it on par with, especially, I mean, you just can't mess with it. And the amount of care and love that went into making this record.
Nigel Godrich, one of the best producers ever. I mean, and
the best out still to this day. I think probably still making some of the best sounding records.
Oh yeah,
that are made.
Even the pop stuff that he did, like with Natalie Imbruglia and people like that.
I didn't know that he did Natalie Imbruglia.
Yeah, man.
Did he do the Torn? Her big hit?
Yes. Yeah.
That's Nigel Godrich?
That's Nigel Godrich.
I weirdly liked that song, and now I'm wondering if that explains what I liked about it. I had no idea.
Yeah.
He did do that last Chili Peppers record.
Right, Beck and Travis.
Well, the Beck stuff is amazing. The Beck stuff sounds incredible.
Yeah.
The Chili Peppers stuff, it sounds nice.
Yeah. We'll leave it there.
Have that fucking guy yelling over everything.
What would you say is your favorite track on here? If you can, I mean, that'd be hard to pick one favorite. I'm sure.
Yeah, it's difficult, but I would say it's probably a toss-up between Let Down, Subterranean, and Paranoid Android, but I'm going to go with Paranoid Android.
Yeah,
just because
Paranoid Android, man. That's incredible.
Well, what I loved about it was that it reminded me of the structure of like these. That was the first thing where they really tipped their hat so that they're a prog rock band.
Right.
That deep down, these dudes were listening to King Crimson and to, I don't know. I mean, even Led Zeppelin would do stuff. Here's the thing that I'm going to relate this to myself instead of talking about this because that's what I do.
Yeah.
Because, I'm a self-centered bastard.
Exactly.
But I had this band, Drop Sonic, that I was in when this record came out.
Right.
And I loved, I was a big Zeppelin fan. Of course, I love this stuff.
Yeah.
And I tried to write a song that was like if Led Zeppelin did Subterranean Homesick Alien.
Yeah.
Paranoid Android, rather. Right. So it's structured like that. It's like a 7-minute epic with this blowout in the middle. Yeah, that's clearly, and then it returns to the original vibe at the end, and like it has this, and there's this song called Headless that's at the top of our second album, Big Nothing, that is, if anybody, and it starts with acoustic 12-string guitars, and it builds into this monster in the middle. It's also the same way, like, In My Time of Dying does that,
Yeah,
or
exactly,
like any number of songs, but this was the song that I wanted to steal.
Yeah.
So I totally did that.
I get that, yeah. And a lot of people compared it to Bohemian Rhapsody, too, at the time, I guess, because it is kind of operatic in a lot of ways, too.
It's just ridiculously cool. We just listened to it a little while ago, and YouTube probably won't let us do that, but...
Yeah.
But after, like, just reviewing it for the first time in a while, it's a really cool song.
That whole rain down thing at the end is so hypnotic, and then
what about the guitar solo too? It's super memorable. Yeah. You can totally and it's in 7.
Yeah.
It's in a weird time signature.
Right.
And then it's still like hookable, like singable. It's
exactly
totally signature of Johnny Greenwood awesomeness.
Johnny Greenwood is amazing, and then you got those weird computer voices in the background too, which somehow fit perfectly. Actually,
listen to them again. At first, when they first come in, they feel really straight and computer-like.
Yeah.
But the more it goes on, and as Tom's higher one comes in, the other ones don't seem as computery.
Right.
They start to feel more like just really perfectly sung.
Yeah. Right.
They're really I don't know. Maybe they tuned it, but this is pre-auto tune. So
right. Yeah. Exactly.
I don't know how they would have. I mean, it doesn't sound robotic enough to be a
right. Yeah.
What's the vocoder or something? So I
don't
know what that is. I mean, there's a lot of stuff on this record that I'm like, I don't know what that is. I don't know how they did that.
Right. Yeah.
And it's all done on tape. This would it's still all 2-inch tape.
Now I know. Speaking of computer voice, the Fitter Happier thing. I think he just put into some computer program and it spoke the words or whatever. But even that is genius.
Yeah, it's like the sad Siri.
Right. Yeah.
Which then at the time, I didn't get the whole message behind this record when it came out. I remember thinking like this was an incredible album. It sounded so cool. The words I could make out, I particularly liked.
Yeah.
The ones I couldn't make out, I liked the ones that I made up.
Right.
I was really into it, and it was still this record completely twisted me inside out when it came out. Like absolutely, I lived with this for probably at least a year where I listened to it every day.
Yep.
And it was just
it ruined me. It'll destroy your world. So listen at your own precaution.
Well, the thing is there's not a lot of records that will destroy. I don't know if any records will destroy anyone's world anymore because of the way things are now. But at this point it's 20 years old, so this is classic rock almost at this point.
Exactly.
But this was when an album could completely change your life, and this album definitely was one of those. But
it's one of those for sure.
Fitter Happier makes a lot more sense once you start to understand the feeling and the concept of this record.
Right.
It's really cool.
Yeah.
It is super, super cool. When you initially just start wanting to ignore it because of the robot guy, and then you start going,
right.
Wait a minute. It's the same way when when Kid A came out, the Kid A song, the song titled Kid A, track 2.
Yeah.
That weird vocal effect that he's got on
which
there.
You don't even know what he's saying on that. I mean, something about
he's saying something about heads on sticks. Yeah, I mean, it's pretty fucked up. But that got a lot cooler to me as time went on, too. At first, I was like, I want to hear his voice. I like the dude's voice. But then...
Yeah, exactly.
Then I was like, oh, okay, I get it.
And speaking of Tom York's voice, I mean, throughout this record, I love that we talked about thematically, lyrically a little bit, but he has so many different like affections to his voice on different songs. Like Climbing Up the Walls, he has like this really creepy tone that fits the song perfectly.
That sort of distorted falsetto vocal with that really weird loose double on it, where it's two. They're not very matchy either. It's a pretty bad double. Clearly, he's okay with that. That was obviously intentional.
Sure,
but that song's a lot cooler than I remember too. Just listening back to it, I was like, oh right.
And then the song right after it, No Surprises, it has not necessarily like a happy feel to it. It's actually extremely miserable, but it has that xylophone thing.
You know what that is? That's their Margaritaville. I'm not. Listen. Yeah. I don't know if you've ever really paid attention to the lyrics of Margaritaville, because I had not. And then one day I was sitting at Aurora Coffee, and Margaritaville came on. And I was just, for some reason, I zeroed in on everything that Buffett is talking about. That is the saddest damn song. It is so sad.
I guess when you really pay attention
to words, listen, like beyond stepping on a pop top and fucking up his shoe.
Right.
His flippity flop. Beyond that, it's really, that's a bad day, but it goes past that. Like, he's talking about, the whole thing is that, he's in drunk and everything in his life that sucks is his own fault. And he's ruined his own life, and now he's just going to drink himself to death.
He can't even blame a woman.
It's leaving Las Vegas. It's basically the saddest thing you've ever heard. Wow. Except while it's going on, you hear
that makes perfect sense.
So
No Surprises is the same thing.
That's their Margaritaville.
With and the music video, Tom drowning slowly. It's
that
amazing.
Footage in the Grant
the
Grant
Meeting People is easy.
Where he just keeps getting pissed because he's choking out.
Classic, man.
It's cool to see how they do that stuff though, where they just speed the song up in the back half.
Yeah.
I don't understand why they really even need to do that when you think about the fact that, well, there must be a reason for it, but he's not singing in the second half.
His breath at the point.
Well, no, obviously he couldn't hold his breath for 4 minutes. But what I'm saying is that like, couldn't they cheat it even harder? Because he's clearly not singing.
Right.
In the set, he's not moving. It's not like he has to lip sync in a different.
Right.
So,
but that's Radiohead having to do it
the hard way.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, this album was all done the hard way. There's no. This is pre-auto tune. There's drum stuff that's rushed.
Yeah.
There's all kinds of cool musical shit. There's stuff that's out of
just
tune.
listening to Airbag, the opener. I mean, you just hear all those weird noises going back and forth. I mean, so cool. And Karma Police, another standout that. I guess that was a single as well, but I love the ending of it when he's just saying, for a minute there, I lost myself over and over again, and that's kind of become one of their biggest anthems now, I guess.
Yeah. A song that I initially also thought was kind of boring. I mean, don't get me wrong, I loved this record was better than anything I'd heard when it came out.
Yeah.
But the songs that I loved, Karma Police wasn't necessarily one of them. I don't know that No Surprises was something that I loved the first time I heard it because of the sort of silly xylophone.
Even Lucky has kind of a slow build to it, you know.
Yeah.
And
Lucky's really cool, though. Again, in retrospect, that song is really awesome.
Oh, yeah.
That was one of the ones we played in the little tribute band, and I think I got into it more.
Right.
I still think Electioneering is stupid. I'm just saying.
They just had to have the rocker on there. Yeah.
They did. I feel like they just, because it really is. This is a time when you couldn't put out a record of like down tempo. Like, this is on Capitol, for Christ's sake. This is not.
Exactly.
There's no indie records. I mean, there are indie records. This is not one of them.
Right.
It's not a world like it is today where you can get away with, this is, you want to sell 1 million copies. They spent probably, I don't know, whatever, $500,000 making this thing.
Right.
My guess is that
supposedly in a haunted mansion or something.
Oh,
but
no,
that
wait
might
a
just
minute.
be dramatic. I don't know.
Is this a double 12-inch? It looks like tracks 1 through 3 are Eeny, Meeny, Miny, Mo, right?
It is, yeah.
It's a double 12.
I haven't. I bought it and I haven't listened to it yet.
Mine is just is that? I bet this sounds awesome because mine is one of the older ones and it's just a regular old. If everything's jammed onto a 12-inch record.
Oh, awesome!
And it kind of crunches up especially by the middle, the tracks on the inside.
I'm gonna listen to it later. This is fantastic.
You definitely should because this will sound better than mine for sure. Because them inside tracks, by the time it hits Karma Police, mine's all crunched up and squeezing together in the middle of the record, and it's all distorted. This shit probably sounds great.
We didn't mention exit music for a film, which I didn't think we'd mention all the songs on here, but you have to, because this is one of those albums that as a cohesive whole, I mean, is just perfect. And you can listen to some of the songs, you know, in mixes or whatever if you want to, but just as a whole, and it got compared to Dark Side a lot when it came out. But just, man, exit music is brilliant.
It's really cool. It's a sad Romeo and Juliet story where they don't they like murder their parents and then kill themselves
I think
or something.
so. Or didn't they use it in Romeo and Juliet the movie or something?
No, they did. There was that other song that was in that.
Oh, that's right. Talk show host. Yeah, that's a cool song too. Yeah.
Which is a cool song, but this sounds like it's literally, you know.
Yeah.
He's grabbing. He's like, let's get the fuck out of here, and then they're talking about.
Right.
I feel like if I remember, he's talking, and then it's that crazy distorted bass tone that comes in, and that middle part.
Yeah. And
shit
then Phil,
evil.
Man. Phil coming in, doing his thing. Man, everybody in Radiohead is amazing. You gotta give it up for all of them. Do their thing. Colin, phenomenal on bass. Ed, you know, doing the guitar and background vocals, and Johnny is just always masterful. I mean, to this day, the stuff that he was doing on Idiotech was so weird, but it works. He
might be the last guitar guy that came out that sounded like something new. Like he's like the last guy I remember hearing playing in a guitar that I went like, who's this dude and how is he doing this and like why is he doing like. I mean, like, exactly. You can learn to play what he plays, but it's impossible to sound like him.
Yeah, and you can tell it's him. Always.
Immediately. He has an immediate style and a way that he bends the notes that is kind of messed up and great, and it's perfect, and it's, he's the last guy I can think of. Mm-hmm. The last one. Yeah. In an era when guitars were not, you know, when there wasn't anybody that was a guitar hero guy or whatever.
Right.
Johnny Greenwood, who was probably the I'm sure he didn't love Eddie Van Halen, but somehow he's just, in my opinion, just as cool and more cool maybe, but like but I don't know, Eddie Van Halen's pretty great.
Absolutely. But I mean, I read that they were listening to tons of classical and jazz and Charles Mingus stuff like when this came out, and I'm sure that influences guitar playing in different ways.
My guess is, truthfully, if you really dug in, you could probably figure out where this stuff, as cool as it is, it's probably been lifted. Yeah. And there's little moments that they probably ripped from somewhere or another. Sure. But it's all, their shit they were listening to was so obscure and so no one else was listening to. Yeah. That they figured out a way to sort of slip it in. Yeah. You know what I mean? They found a way to definitely be influenced by stuff that nobody else was influenced by and get away with doing something that just felt completely out of nowhere. But it really does feel like Dark Side of the Moon. Mm-hmm. Or
I put it in my personal top 10 of all time list with Dark Side. They're both in there for sure.
All right, I will concur.
Awesome, man. And so if we were to give it a grade, I give it a 10 out of 10, A+. Do you concur on that as well?
Yes, 10 out of 10.
Awesome. Well,
except for electioneering.
Okay, yeah. Well, 9.5, rounded up to 10.
9.9.
So, yes, repeating. So thank you guys so much for watching. And please, if you have not checked out OK Computer, set aside a year of your life because it's going to just suck you in and you're not going to be able to have other relationships. And it's going to be great, though, because it's just one of the best albums ever. So, guys, thank you so much for watching. Thank you, Dan Dixon, for being on the show. Also, check out Please, one of the best bands currently out there. I've done reviews for some of their stuff, like their most recent album, Jet Black, one of the best albums, the best album of 2017, as a matter of fact. So, guys, there's great music out there. You just got to find it. And thank you, as always, for watching. And as always, Viva La Vinyl! So thank you guys so much for watching. Please check out some of the other Radiohead related content that you can see on the screen right now. And in the center of the screen there is a globe that says Johnny Radio on it. If you like this, please click and subscribe to my channel. I have a ton more content coming. Thank you guys so much, and I will see you soon.